Picking up from where we left off, this is matters regarding the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Okwogera, has been ordered by Muhoozi to open a treason crime on His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Because Bobi Wine's home has been tremendously damaged beyond repair, they are almost embarrassed to hand it to him that way. And obviously, because we're all going to see the state of the home, including the diggings they've done around it, but not to worry, because they say in the Bible that there was two places during the birth of Jesus that are memorable, that are remarkable. One of them was the hotel where Mary and Joseph tried to go to get a place to sleep. So hopefully Mary would give birth to baby Jesus there. And that place, they were denied access. But the other place that is very memorable is the corral, or the where they kept animals, where the animal keeper welcomed Joseph and Mary and said, "You're welcome. You know, it's not the best, but if you can use it, feel free to use it." To this day, the hotel does not exist. Nobody knows what happened where. I think they've built other things on it. But the corral where Jesus was born is still a memorable place and a tourist location to date. So, in as much as they're doing whatever they're doing with that home in Magere, His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu's home, I have no doubt whatsoever that that home for us is going to remain a historic location. Because looking at people like Nelson Mandela, the place where he was imprisoned for 26 years, till today, that island is still a tourist location. While prominent buildings or locations where people had lavish lifestyle cannot be found. So Museveni, whatever you do with that home is up to you. But that home forever in our hearts will remain a place, a special place, because His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu once stepped foot in there. So anyways, with that, Okwogera, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, has been tasked by Muhoozi to find a way to charge His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu with a severe crime. Reason being that his testimony at the Geneva Summit and the testimony today, February 23rd, 2026, at the EU Parliament, are considered to be treasonous and are equivalent to having him be a wanted individual. That means that once Nzeja, who is their attorney, who is their Chief Justice, concludes the crime or pins the crime on His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, at that point they will have Interpol look for him or try to catch him. To this day, Museveni doesn't know exactly where Bobi Wine is. And that just goes to show you how the intelligence services that they have or rely on are completely useless. You know, for a government to exist like Museveni with a lot of holes where we do get security alerts and we get information more than he can gather or gain, how does he explain the family of His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu getting out of the country, if they did? Or how does His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu exist in Uganda under their nose and they can't find him? So with those said, they're trying to bring him as a criminal. Remember that their attempt to crush NUP or completely have no existence of NUP as a political party or enclose their offices, they want to start with the head. So they believe that if they can stifle His Excellency Kyagulanyi from existing freely, then they have partially owned or they've partially trimmed the problem. But obviously their plans are theirs and ours are ours, and ours are working quite fast. Okay, so they want to charge him with treason. They also want to close all NUP offices and headquarters everywhere in Uganda with efforts like these. So once they charge Kyagulanyi with severe treasonous crimes, his offices will no longer exist. The political party no longer exists. That means anything NUP is no longer existence. And also, the political prisoners that are currently being held will also suffer the trickle effect of that judgment. So while they plan to do this, we're hoping that things can move faster and get ahead of them before they can enact or execute whatever they think they can try to do. Okay? In Muhoozi's mind, he wants Mpuga's party, I think it's called PFF or PPF or something like that. He wants Mpuga's party to replace Snoop. As you know, Mpuga was the vice, I believe it was like a vice president to Snoop in the beginning. And so when His Excellency found out Mpuga's position as being a mole or a spy from the NRM or Museveni's government, he was sent away, or he was demoted from the party, or sent away from the party. So as we see that a lot of the Mpuga group, Mpuga and the other gentleman, going to pretend to be rescuing new political prisoners who are in prison right now, don't be surprised by the fact that they are trying to coerce them to join the NRM. In fact, something more dangerous that they're doing, and if you do have relatives or friends who are political prisoners in prison, Mpuga and the group are going in to see these political prisoners and documenting or writing. You know, when you are an attorney for somebody or a lawyer for someone, you're supposed to present inquiries, you're supposed to present discoveries, you're supposed to present documents that plead for your client. In this case, Mpuga and their group, they are going in and asking these people to give testimony or take testimony in form of letters from the political prisoners. These statements that are being made are going to be used later on by Museveni to try to legitimize his government. So anybody who knows some political prisoners that are in prison who are being visited by Mpuga's group, please let them take heed from giving testimony or even agreeing to some of the things that the Mpuga people are trying to let them agree on, because all those are going to try to be used by Museveni so that he can show to the world that those new people are truly terrorists in Uganda, because in exchange for trying to get them freed, they are going to agree to certain things, but those things are going to hold them for good and will legitimize the fact that Museveni says NUP as a party and all of its people are terrorists in Uganda. So they should not accept to give any testimonies or have these lawyers come and write documents about them that they said so, because those are being compiled very carefully so that they can use them against those people in the near future. Okay? All meetings are being recorded with the promise of giving them freedom. All what those new prisoners are talking to these Mpugas about, especially in light of agreeing to certain terms in exchange for a release, is just to get them to give testimony that eventually will be used by them. You see, the reason why Museveni and his people refuse to testify or have Mariam Black go and be questioned by the European Union or answer questions at the European Union is because they're not prepared. They don't have anything to present, but now they're cooking things, and eventually they'll pour them into the media to look into the media and into organizations like the EU and all of them to try, and through their lobbyists like Mariam Black, who also works for the ICC as a permanent representative, to try to coerce and make things look normal in Uganda, to try to portray Museveni as a legitimate president, to also try to portray Museveni as a good leader, and that what his forces are doing with regard to political prisoners was the right thing to do. So be careful with that, and inform the prisoners wherever they are not to be coerced by the Mpuga group, because it doesn't end well for them. So apparently there's somebody new who's called Bosco in Kampala, who's owning all of the who Museveni is a moving proxy of their business ownerships to him. This is somebody who I understand is now owning all of Salim Saleh's businesses in Kampala, all of his arcades and all of that. He's the proxy of Salim Saleh. In fact, if you have seen Muhoozi in town recently, he has come out to tour his constructions in the trench of Chisenyi, where recently there was a flood or something like that. He came out to tour those buildings. Anytime you hear of a Bosco, a wealthy man in Chisenyi is the new proxy of Salim Saleh. More robberies are going to happen. People who are wealthy, Ugandans, will lose businesses courtesy of this new person who has come up. All arcades and plazas are from Museveni's family, and they don't pay for water or electricity bills, but yet Ugandans pay heavily with the maximum amount of load shedding you can imagine. I mean, they have lights today, not tomorrow, not in the afternoon, not in the morning. You know, all of that happens. But in these arcades, these people don't pay electricity, they don't pay water, because they are the Museveni people. So in the unfairness of every other circumstance, add these two items, because it only gets worse and it doesn't get better for Ugandans. Until we fight hard and eliminate these people, we have no freedom or will not see peace for a long time. Okay? In a meeting where so Okwogera Riem, as had been ordered by Muhoozi, has submitted over 187 videos to the Museveni family, including campaign videos, all of Kyagulanyi's statements and speeches in Uganda and abroad. All of them have been ordered to implicate Kyagulanyi Ssentamu in a disastrous treason charge. The Geneva speech has been considered criminalized for misrepresenting Uganda and requesting sanctions against active government officials. Hence, they're calling him a treasonous person because he's trying to collapse the government. But get this, the reason why I say Besigye is a hoax is because today was when they proposed to put a prayer for Dr. Besigye. I have nothing against Dr. Besigye, but he coincides with actual opposition and actual reality. Why is it that Dr. Kiza Besigye, who was arrested in Kenya, apparently surveying aircrafts and military equipment to come and overthrow the government of Museveni, why is Kiza Besigye held in prison? Not another party member. A boy Amriat came up the other day, you know, accusing Bobi Wine of being on the run for no good reason. But of all FDC people, okay, all FDC supporters, you have not heard of anybody else being arrested or being tortured or being held in prison. You know, Dr. Lina Zadriga is still in prison. The deputy prime minister, the deputy president of Kampala is still in prison. Our lady deputy from Western Uganda just got released recently. All of the new political prisoners that have been taken through this period, before the elections, after elections, Eddie Mutwe is still in prison. Eddie Mutwe has never had even a knife on him. But Besigye, who they say went to Kenya to try to purchase aircrafts, ammunition, to come and overthrow the government of Uganda, is in prison. Why isn't Besigye's deputy in prison? I don't believe if somebody is that dangerous, he's doing it alone, okay? There is no other FDC person who has been arrested and detained, who has been tortured, like we have seen anything that has happened to new political prisoners. This goes to show, it gives me doubt in my heart, the validity of Besigye as an opposition. I don't like the fact that he's being held in prison, but that does not necessarily define the fact that he's a true opposition. Now, I don't want to go into this and beat this too much, but you get my point. Where does he fit in the shoes of a true opposition in Uganda? Those are my doubts, but they may just be mine. Okay? So anyways, in a meeting, Museveni, Karujire, Chiriowa Chiwanuka, Rugunda, Mbabazi. Now, if you do remember, Amama Mbabazi once ran in the opposition. Amama Mbabazi right now and since then was free and has always been free. But imagine His Excellency Kyagulanyi Ssentamu has not been free before elections, after elections, and even when Museveni gives himself a win, Kyagulanyi still can't have peace in his own home. So it just, John, I agree with you, John, because he says this also baffles him. I don't understand